From London, England, extracting the signal from the noise, it's theCUBE, covering Discover 2015. Brought to you by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Now your hosts, John Furrier and Dave Vellante.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We are here live in London, England for HPE Discover, HPE Enterprise. This is SiliconANGLE's theCUBE, our flagship program. We go out to the events and extract the signal from noise. I'm John Furrier, my coach Dave Vellante. Our next guest is Colby Dyess, Director of Marketing at Eucalyptus and Hybrid Cloud Strategy, Director of Hybrid Cloud Strategy of HP Cloud. Eucalyptus, very well known in the industry, pioneer, now acquired by HP. Welcome to theCUBE.
Hey, thanks, glad to be here.
So Amazon integration was a big part of that feature, but there's no public cloud anymore for HP.
Yeah, that's right. So
Amazon's got the public cloud locked up. Azure's there, Google, a lot of multi-cloud world.
Sure, there are lots of clouds, lots of choices, and customers are free to make all those decisions right now. We're seeing a lot of businesses that adopt different clouds because it's new to them, right, in the larger organizations. So Eucalyptus, of course, is hyper-focused on just providing the private cloud capability for Amazon. You heard about our recent announcement, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise's announcement with Microsft. So the partnership there helps customers know that we can give them public and private cloud capabilities. So we can cover them on the AWS side, we can cover them on the Microsoft side.
What's the secret to that deal? I mean, obviously, besides the fact that it's going to open up opportunity for HP sales motions to be very partner-centric, multi-vendor, ecosystem-friendly, but what's the technical nuances of all this?
The technical nuances of the
relationship with Microsoft and public clouds, and if you're an HP customer, I might want to put stuff in Azure, or I might want to have stuff.
Sure, well the relationship is going to make it even easier for you to put things into Azure and bring things out of Azure, because you're going to live in a hybrid cloud world. You're not going to keep things in one place or the other. You need to be able to have the business freedom to take your applications and move it in or out. So what we're allowing our customers to do is make it far easier for them, right? You get the HP gear, you get the Microsoft relationship, and now you know you can work with one vendor to be able to get both your public and private cloud.
What was the original rationale for the Eucalyptus acquisition? I mean, from your standpoint, you came from Eucalyptus in, but from your perspective, what was the rationale?
Well, I think when you take a look at, we talk about the public clouds that are out there, the two big ones, Microsoft and AWS. We have customers, everyone has customers who need a private cloud complement. You can't put everything into the public cloud, so you keep things in the private cloud. Well, there's no other private cloud solution for Amazon other than Eucalyptus. This has been great. We kept focused on just implementing the AWS APIs. And so HP made, I think, a very smart decision. I'm biased, but made a very smart decision to purchase Eucalyptus and fold it into the Helion portfolio, the full suite of cloud products. This makes it easier for customers to buy in to cloud and be covered across all the publics.
My sense was part of that rationale was, okay, we're going to give a tailwind to the HP public cloud, which is now off the table.
Sure.
So now, to me anyway, in the spirit of focus, more focuses the Eucalyptus mission to connect to AWS, Azure, ... Is that fair?
I think it's absolutely fair. I mean, we're able to now much more focus on our key strengths on the private cloud side and on hybrid cloud management. Taking the time and the energy to do the public cloud was very interesting. We learned quite a bit, I think, but we're
also
now
OpenStack
able to be
is
very
interesting.
focused.
OpenStack's also another area that HP is focused on. What's the take there with OpenStack? How does that play into all this?
Well, OpenStack continues to be the primary cloud platform, right? It's a core piece of the Cloud System 9 platform, and you'll see that HP will continue to make its investment in OpenStack and contribute all that back out into.
But is the Eucalyptus stuff integrated into Helion for OpenStack or not?
Right. So Eucalyptus is part of the Helion brand.
Okay.
But when we talk about Helion OpenStack, no, you won't see a Eucalyptus and OpenStack kind of merger. They're two different technologies and intended to solve two different kinds of problems. Think about it like if you were to say, you think Amazon and Azure are going to technically merge, and they won't because they just don't really integrate at
They
that
don't
level.
like each
And the
other.
same thing's true.
Independent of that, you're talking from a technical
And
perspective.
we love both of these, but the reality is they're two entirely different models. So when you adopt the AWS design patterns, you adopt that API, that's going to be very different from what's happening on
How would you
OpenStack.
describe the Eucalyptus technology to the folks watching that might not be inside the ropes on all this? Is it a tool? Is it a glue? Is it its own
That's a
platform?
good question, yeah. Lots of folks actually begin with that question. So Eucalyptus is an open source implementation of the AWS services, of core AWS services. So in many ways you could think of this as what would happen if Amazon came to you and said, hey, we want to put our cloud in your data center and it'll be your cloud and just a single tenant cloud. Well, that's really Eucalyptus. It's software. It's not a package, not a set of tools. It's a fully formed product.
So I got to ask you the hard question, which is, I'm sure you get all the time, which is Amazon is introducing new services at a rapid pace.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys keep up with it, or do you only focus on the core building blocks?
Yeah.
Or, because they're just, every reInvent we go, it's like slew of new stuff.
And I go to all those reInvents too, and it's pretty incredible because they're rapidly developing. At the same time, you're not seeing that all their customers are adopting all of those different services. It takes time for those things to kind of get into the
And
market.
they do pump it up a lot.
they do, and then they announce it takes a while. But it's just really good to focus on the core services, the ones that...
And that's your strategy.
Well, that is ours. We have to be hyper-focused on those things that are adopted by most organizations, by most applications. And that's the EC2, the S3, EBS, all of those core, CloudFormation, et cetera. And we're going to continue to focus on adding new services, but only those that our customers have asked us to implement. We're going to keep very tight and focused and not try and chase down 60 services that aren't going to be broadly
You'd be
used.
chasing your tail. It's an arms race at that point for you guys, because it's like, you're just trying to keep up, you lose your focus, right?
Yeah, when you say an arms race, then that sounds more like competitive. And just to be clear, right, we don't want to be competitive. We're not really trying to chase or do an arms race with it. But we do want to replicate, but only the core services that customers are adopting.
What of the recent announcements are you guys pursuing that you can talk about?
There are recent announcements from Eucalyptus. We can talk about the Eucalyptus 4.2 that just had come out. And in that, which is a great release, we introduced the VPC, the Virtual Private Cloud. It's Amazon's way of allowing folks to, via software, via APIs, define and provision their own network infrastructure. It's in fact the default networking model for Amazon. So our customers have told us we really needed that in order to model what they're doing in Amazon. So in Eucalyptus 4.2 we introduced that.
So your customers today are exclusively Amazon customers or predominantly
I don't
Amazon
know
customers?
of anybody that's an exclusive Amazon customer.
Well, no, sorry, when I say exclusive, I mean every time somebody brings in Eucalyptus, there's an Amazon customer at the other end, is that right? Or no?
So, not all the time,
No,
but
okay.
it's the
predominant.
the decision, the predominantly.
Okay.
But we already know that the customer's going to. They're planning on adopting AWS.
Okay, so essentially 100% of the times you're in a data center, it's because Amazon's going either there or going to be there.
Right. If there's no Amazon, then the conversation is going to be Azure Packs, right? If you're an Azure client, or OpenStack, of course, for a brand new cloud native.
And I guess what I'm trying to get to is Eucalyptus is extending to those other clouds, correct? Or
no, Eucalyptus doesn't attempt to extend to that.
Okay, so you're going to stay Amazon.
Only
100%.
Amazon.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
All right, so the technology you were saying before doesn't sort of.
It doesn't
apply.
switch around,
Okay.
and Microsoft already implemented Azure Pack for the private cloud.
Okay, so all right, so now we can. I'm sorry, apologize for
no,
being off the center there.
It happens all the time.
So,
very common.
come back to the earlier question. What are your customers? I'll ask it differently. What are your customers asking you for in terms of recent Amazon innovations that you are pursuing? I think of, just off the top of my head, there's Kinesis, there's their VDI,
Lambda.
there's Aurora, there's Redshift, there's all
Classic
that stuff.
Beanstalk,
I mean,
SQS.
Which of the ones that most people have heard of are you
So tell you about the ones that people always ask for.
Great.
And that show up on our roadmap. So we'll be delivering those on our schedule. And they include things like SQS, SNS, RDS. I hope the folks viewing this know those services.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So those are the kinds of things that show up on our roadmap. The really new ones, like Lambda, they don't show up on the roadmap because they're not broadly adopted yet.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, sure, we'd implement all the core services and all the extended services.
Also, you're also focusing on areas where developers are using
absolutely where
I
the
mean,
developers
DevOps,
are.
so your DevOps using the queuing, some of the auto scaling stuff, probably.
Oh, absolutely. Auto scaling, elastic load balancing, all this.
Yeah.
Cloud formation is one that had been around for a little while, but now we're seeing a lot of adoption, which is why we.
How about
implemented
Beanstalk? Because that's a hard one to replicate.
Elastic Beanstalk.
You guys do anything with that? I mean,
no, we haven't had enough of demand on the Elastic Beanstalk.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You could ask us for it, and when we get the demand, we'll certainly build it. But you get small teeth. You gotta keep focused.
No, there's not a lot of demand for.
Are you
Elastic
asking for Elastic Beanstalk?
No, we use Elastic.
it,
We use Elastic
Oh, you
Beanstalk.
guys do.
Yeah, and Redis and everything else, all the goodness, queuing. We're a big Amazon customer.
I'd like to introduce you to Eucalyptus. You become a customer.
We do want to port to
We'll
other
build-
clouds. There's a lot of requests for us to move off of Amazon. So what we're thinking is that we want to actually run on Amazon and run on other clouds.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
some
But
people
that's
have-
not your gig, is what I'm hearing.
well for folks who want to run on Amazon and run on other clouds. That's Hewlett Packard Enterprise's gig.
Yeah.
No, but for Eucalyptus specifically, it's you want to run on-prem.
You want to run an on-prem version of
Yeah.
Amazon
For whatever,
Web Services.
what are the reasons why people want to do that?
Oh, there are lots of different reasons. A handful of the reasons tend to be things like I have an application that runs on Amazon today, but I have clients using my application who can't or won't let their customer data exist in a public cloud. And that could be business decisions, or that could be a government regulation, right?
So the use case, Dave, so it would be this, right? So let's just give you an example from our standpoint. We would run our big data, we have all our big data stuff and stuff on the cloud, media stuff on the cloud. We want to run it on our premise, okay, rack and stack, bare metal or converged or composable. And then for people who don't want us to run on Amazon, can run it on-prem.
Yeah.
Or we can say, oh, let's move it to Azure, right? And run it on Azure, right? And then it's
And that would
on-prem.
take Eucalyptus out of the equation in that
It
example.
would, but it would also introduce the cost of doing the porting, right? It's a
Yeah.
non-trivial task to take from one cloud and go to another. Typically, when
It's a
you
lot
adopt
easier.
a cloud, you've chosen to implement on that cloud.
Right, it's a lot
for
easier if
purpose.
it's on-prem and you're under control. It's under your control, is what you're saying.
Yes. that's
Well, there's a
true.
dynamic developing in the market where these clouds are also having marketplaces. And so
Yeah.
they can also compete, and they're also becoming resellers. So IBM or Azure might say, or Google might say, well, I want your code, SaaS code on my cloud,
Right.
not on my competitor's cloud.
Yeah.
So in that case, the business case is to port it
Yes.
based on the business
On-prem,
yeah.
using Eucalyptus.
or port it to the other cloud. I think.
Well,
is
you
the
just say,
story you're
okay,
telling.
well, I'm going to run it on my cloud, so just point the marketplace to here, but they might say, no, I want it on my cloud. So it's all these little nuances that come
Again,
into play.
I'm trying to figure out where Eucalyptus fits in that equation.
I have an
You-
application on the
SLA
public
based.
cloud, and for some reason,
Yeah.
I need to run it in a private cloud
Got it.
environment. That's the common
So,
one.
and then, so I'm
Compliance.
trying to peel the onion on those reasons. You know, everybody's security, compliance, governance. What does that really mean?
So we have a customer today, all right, and they build a loyalty rewards program, and their customers would be like a Nordstrom or an American Airlines or something,
Yeah, right,
very
okay.
large. And so their customers love the platform that these guys have, the loyalty rewards platform. That platform was designed, developed, and runs on Amazon.
Right.
And now their customers have said to them, they have new customers who say, love your platform, but our customer data can't exist in Amazon because we don't want it in a public cloud. That was their business decision. So our client came to us and said, well, we want to continue using our platform. We don't want to port it to be something else. What else could I use? So Eucalyptus is the natural answer. I take the application and run another instance.
Okay, so I
in
want to keep
private.
pushing at that so I understand it better. So in that example, the reason might have been we didn't want another public cloud because we haven't signed up for a security policy, or Amazon's not flexible with its security.
My
They won't do
business
one-offs.
is in Canada,
Yeah.
and Amazon doesn't have a region, a Canadian region.
Okay,
right?
great.
So that means that my customer's
So-
data is out of
So I'm
country.
going to use
unacceptable.
Eucalyptus to bring that data into my on-prem in Canada.
Right, exactly.
And then I'm going to service you
That's right.
from Canadian soil.
Yep.
Same thing in Germany, for example. You
Well,
get,
and of course now they've got Frankfurt, so we don't have to do that
okay,
anymore.
so that's right.
Right, so we pick other countries.
All right, we'll pick it up.
I used to say that, yeah.
That's
but,
right.
but that's exactly right.
And they used to say, oh no, Ireland. We said,
yeah,
oh, that's not
yeah,
going to play.
Well,
So
and now
okay.
they're going to do London,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because that's what people need. They need these little pockets. So you need a pocket where Amazon doesn't have it.
Okay, so
You-
that's data location. Other reasons that you're getting for people?
Yeah, other reasons are things like performance. If you're going to build a real high-scale, latency-sensitive application, you
Yeah.
can get a lot of really cool stuff out of Amazon and pay for provisioned IOPS and get dedicated servers, and it sort of starts to add up on the cost, but you're still not guaranteed a certain. You may not achieve a certain performance. You're guaranteed what Amazon guarantees, but you may not be getting the performance that you need. So you can run a Eucalyptus private cloud on your hardware that you've tuned to ensure that you get the SLA you need for the applications that you're developing.
And in that instance, you're spinning up EC2 from on-prem, or no?
Yeah, EC2,
Right.
S3, EBS.
So I'm accessing Amazon services, but the
No,
data...
it's all management.
No.
It's all like...
it's still the cloud in your data center, and you might make an EC2 call, but that EC2 call is serviced by Eucalyptus. So your instance is going to run in your Eucalyptus cloud.
Which is run on HP hardware. So you take all this HP hardware and networking storage, rack and stack it, put Eucalyptus on the front end, and it looks like Amazon.
Okay, so...
But you're kind of hitting at something that folks tend to get confused about, right? Eucalyptus isn't managing AWS, and it doesn't move workloads out to AWS, just like AWS doesn't manage workloads in other clouds, right? So
it just gives you an interface that they're comfortable with, right?
That. Yeah, it's something that they've already been using for a while. They have tools, development practices for using the Amazon design patterns. You know, if you were using Microsoft Azure and you were all in on Azure, developing, designing for that, you'd want to go with Azure Pack, right, for your local stuff.
So essentially mimicking AWS API and services that you choose to service, sticking them in a backpack.
Right.
Bringing them on-prem.
Yeah, it's good on the cube. Well, no, the thing is also training too, like you're up and running pretty quickly. That's part of the main benefits, right? You're pretty much...
It's the same skill set. It's the same tools. You're not going to have to invest in brand new tools. You don't have to even go outside
Dave, do we have a sysadmin in our company? No. We don't.
No.
When we had HBase, we used to have to go out and provision the boxes, and so cloud gives DevOps engineering capability.
So your relationship with Amazon prior to HPE, we used to see at AWS, reinvent all the time.
We're there all the
Martin
time still.
theCUBE, right, still there.
Yeah.
Good relationship with those guys, but why, right? Amazon wants to move everything into the public cloud.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So,
and if I were Amazon, I'd continue to say that same thing, right? The whole world will go into a public cloud space. But we know the complexities of living in the enterprise. They've got really complex needs. Why does Amazon, why are they okay with this? Why were they okay with it when we were Eucalyptus Systems? Because Eucalyptus is addressing a problem that our shared customers have.
Yeah.
Our customers need, our AWS and HPE have a need to run cloud services on-premise.
So what you take
We're
of
going to solve that problem.
and so they'd
They're
rather
not
have
gonna
it
do that.
through the Amazon framework than...
Yes, keep with the same design
Yes,
patterns,
yeah.
stay within the ecosystem, use the same skills that you have, don't go anywhere else. Eventually, some workloads will end up in AWS, some will come back down. It's pretty fluid.
Colby, we had Bill Hilf on earlier, and now he's now running the whole group, and he's got product and engineering go to market all together.
Yeah.
The big decision was to get out of the public cloud, and all the brouhaha started when he was quoted in the New York Times, and then finally they had official announcement. You're not getting out of the cloud business, you're getting out of the public cloud, competing against Amazon and Azure.
We're getting out of our own implementation of a public cloud.
Exactly.
So we're certainly going to help our customers adopt public cloud.
As well as build a lot of private clouds that look like public clouds, so customers can have their own clouds, right?
Yes.
And work on the cloud.
You just try to make it as easy as possible for our customers.
What's your feeling right now, the sentiment within the cloud group? And there's no real cloud group now, it's all HPE, but in the enterprise group, HPE, what's the vibe in the cloud group right now?
Well, I'm in a great place. My team's already excited. I'm hyper-focused on this Eucalyptus, hyper-focused on what we're now doing with Microsoft. I think there's a lot of excitement today because, well, the world's going cloud. Where those workloads end up, public and private, doesn't much matter, but this is a really good, compelling story. I think when we folded the cloud business unit into the rest of EG and software, that allowed us to actually get closer to the same types of people that we need to work with. Yeah. To me, it feels much more like getting to a one HPE kind of world. Yeah.
It feels like one HP where its cloud is infrastructure. Hybrid cloud is the infrastructure. Now, hence the transformational area, which is the marketing buzzword, but reality, if it's all cloud, it's all infrastructure.
It is, yeah, regardless of where that infrastructure exists, right?
All right, what's the coolest thing you've seen at the show this year?
The coolest thing that I've seen that wasn't my stuff. It's got to be. Have you seen the car?
The car is cool.
Oh man, the race car is pretty.
The game or the real race car?
It looks like you could lift
the game or the real race car?
The game's really cool, and I love the game. The chair moving around,
beautiful.
It's a lot of fun. Like any sort of visceral interactive experience is a heck of a lot of fun.
I love the car game and the car. What's the favorite thing the coolest thing in your group?
In our group, in the Eucalyptus group, it's it's really just been being able to talk about Eucalyptus. We talk a little bit about the latest release, but the most exciting thing for me has been watching customers come up and say, "Oh, I have AWS. I want to be able to run this in-house. And I get excited about that. You know, we were such a small company before as just Eucalyptus Systems. Now we're in this big environment. I'm at my third Discover since then, and it's just neat to see everybody come by.
Colby, thanks for coming on theCUBE, really appreciate it. Great to talk cloud here with Dave and myself. This is theCUBE here live in London for HPE Discover, HPE Discover. We'll be right back with more after this short break.